Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Rainam Namaskritya Devam Saraswatyam Vyasam Shastapreshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Reading from second canto, first chapter, text 11. Etanirvidyamanam Ichatam akuto bhayam Yoginam nripanirnitam Harer namanukirtana Etanirvidyamanam Ichatam akuto bhayam Yoginam nripanirnitam Hare namanukirtana Etanirvidyamananam Ichatam akuto bhayam Yoginam nripanirnitam Hare namanukirtana nirvijamananam
etam nirvijamananam
Ichakamakuto vayam Yoginam
yoginam
Nirpanitam Hare Namanukirtanam
Hare Namanukirtanam etam nirvijamanam yoginam nirpanitam Hare Namanukirtanam etam nirvijamanam Ichitam Akudovayam Yoganam Nirpanirnitam Hare Namanukirtanam Hare Namanukirtanam
Right, let's say the word-to-word translation together, please. Ita, it is the nirvana of those who are completely free from all material desires. Ichatam, of those who are desirous of all sorts of material enjoyment. Akutavayam, free from all thoughts of fear. Yoginam, of all who are self-satisfied. Nirva, O King. Nirnitam, decided truth. Hare, of the Lord Shri Krishna. Shri Krishna now and after someone, always kirtanam chanting. Translation. O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the previous verse, the great necessity for attaining attachment to Mukunda has been accredited. There are different types of persons who desire to attain success in different varieties of pursuits. Generally, the persons are materialists who desire to enjoy the fullest extent of material gratification. Next to them are transcendentalists who have attained perfect knowledge about the nature of material enjoyment and thus are aloof from such an illusory way of life. More or less, they are satisfied in themselves by self-realization. Above them are the devotees of the Lord, who neither aspire to enjoy the material world nor desire to get out of it. They're after the satisfaction of the Lord, Sri Krishna. In other words, the devotees of the Lord do not want anything on their personal account. If the Lord desires, the devotee can accept all sorts of material facilities. And if the Lord does not desire this, the devotees can leave aside all sorts of facilities, even up to the limit of salvation. Nor are they self-satisfied, because they want the satisfaction of the Lord only. In this verse, Sri Sukadeva Goswami recommends the transcendental chanting of the holy name of the Lord. By offenseless chanting and hearing of the holy name of the Lord, one becomes acquainted with the transcendental form of the Lord, and then with the attributes of the Lord, and then with the transcendental nature of his pastimes, etc. Here it is mentioned that one should constantly chant the holy name of the Lord after hearing it from authorities. The This means that hearing from the authorities is the first essential. Hearing of the holy name gradually promotes one to the stage of hearing about his form, about his attributes, his pastimes, and so on. And thus, the necessity of the chanting of his glories develops successively. This process is recommended not only for the successful execution of devotional service, but also even for those who are materially attached. According to Sri Sukadev Goswami, this way of attaining success is an established fact, concluded not only by him, but also by all other previous acharyas. Therefore, there is no need of further evidence. The process is recommended not only for the progressive students in different departments of ideological success, but also for those who are already successful in their achievement as fruitive workers, as philosophers, or as devotees of Lord. Anyone else want to?
Srila Jiva Goswami instructs that chanting of the holy name of the Lord should be loudly done, and it should be performed offenselessly as recommended in the Padma Purana. One can deliver himself from the effects of all sins by surrendering himself unto the Lord. One can deliver himself from all offenses at the feet of the Lord by taking shelter of his holy name. But one cannot protect himself if one commits an offense at the feet of the holy name of the Lord. Such offenses are mentioned in the Padma Purana as being 10 in number. The first offense is to vilify the great devotees who have preached about the glories of the Lord. The second offense is to see the holy names of the Lord in terms of worldly distinction. The Lord is the proprietor of all the universes, and therefore he may be known in different places by different names. But that does not in any way qualify the fullness of the Lord. Any nomenclature which is meant for the Supreme Lord is as holy as the others, because they are all meant for the Lord. Such holy names are as powerful as the Lord, and there is no bar for anyone in any part of the creation to chant and glorify the Lord by the particular name of the Lord, as it is locally understood. They are all auspicious, and one should not distinguish such names of the Lord as material commodities. The third offense is to neglect the orders of the authorized acharyas or spiritual masters. The fourth offense is to vilify scriptures or Vedic knowledge. The fifth offense is to define the holy name of the Lord in terms of one's mundane calculation. The holy name of the Lord is identical with the Lord himself, and one should understand the holy name of the Lord to be non-different from him. The sixth offense is to interpret the holy name. The Lord is not imaginary, nor is his holy name. There are persons with a poor fund of knowledge who think the Lord to be an imagination of the worshiper, and therefore think the holy name is to be imaginary. Such a chanter of the name of the Lord cannot achieve the desired success in the matter of chanting the holy name. The seventh offense is to commit sins intentionally on the strength of the holy name. In the scriptures, it is said that one can be liberated from the effects of all sinful actions simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. One who takes advantage of this transcendental method and continues to commit sins on the expectation of neutralizing the effects of sins by chanting the holy name of the Lord is the greatest offender at the feet of the holy name. Such an offender cannot purify himself by any recommended method of purification. In other words, one may be a sinful man before chanting the holy name of the Lord, but after taking shelter in the holy name of the Lord and becoming immune, one should strictly restrain oneself from committing sinful acts with a hope that his method of chanting the holy name will give him protection. The eighth offense is to consider the holy name of the Lord and his chanting method to be equal to some material auspicious activity. There are various kinds of good works for material benefits, but the holy name and his chanting are not mere auspicious holy services. Undoubtedly, the holy name is holy service, but he should never be utilized for such purposes. Since the holy name and the Lord are of one and the same identity, one should not try to bring the holy name into the service of mankind. The idea is that the Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer. He is no one's servant or order supplier. Similarly, since the holy name of the Lord is identical with the Lord, one should try not to utilize the holy name for one's personal service. The ninth offense is to instruct those who are not interested in chanting the holy name of the Lord about the transcendental nature of the holy name. If such instruction is imparted to an unwilling audience, the act is considered to be an offense at the feet of the holy name. The 10th offense is to become uninterested in the holy name of the Lord, even after hearing of the transcendental nature of the holy name. The effect of chanting the holy name of the Lord is perceived by the chanter as liberation from the conception of false egoism. False egoism is exhibited by thinking oneself to be the enjoyer of the world and thinking everything in the world to be meant for enjoyment of oneself only. The whole materialistic world is moving under such false egoism of I and mine. But the factual effect of chanting the holy name is to become free from such misconceptions.
Let's read the translation together one more time, please.
O King, constant chanting the holy name of the Lord, great authorities, is the doubtless and fearless way to success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by the ends of transcendental knowledge.
So, such a wonderful verse. It's really focusing on the chanting of the holy name and is answering kind of the three main questions that may arise with chanting of the holy name, right? So the first is who should be chanting, right? So if you think of it, everyone in this room will probably come in one of those three categories or some mixture of those, right? So the point is that the chanting is for everyone, right? So there isn't any person who should not be chanting. So that's the who part. And then when should one do it? It says the constant chanting of the holy name. So we should always be chanting. And then the third piece is of how should one chant, right? And that is after the ways of the great authorities. So following in the footsteps of the great authorities is how we should chant. So I was thinking about this verse, and obviously I think it's really important to not commit offenses and to take those 10 offenses very seriously. To where Srila Prabhupada did as part of the morning program to read those 10 offenses every day to remind ourselves of the importance of it and to make sure that we're not um, committing those offenses. And in that way, we can chant the holy name offenselessly. So I had some thoughts that I wanted to kind of share in terms of how should one be thinking about chanting, some things that we can that can help us in our chanting. So three things that I wanted to kind of talk about today. The first one was having faith in the holy name. So in the beginning or in the early stages, right, we may not be able to really have that realization or see that Krishna's name is different from Krishna. So Krishna puts all his potency in the holy name, and that's the recommended way of this yoga is to chant Krishna's name. And so it's really important to have faith in that. Um, so there are a couple stories that I wanted to share, kind of to maybe emphasize that point of how important faith is. So there's a scholar named Dhanacharya, if I'm remembering his name correctly. So he was a Jnani yogi. He was trying to have self-realization through learning through the scriptures and attaining that knowledge. And so across a lot of the scriptures, he heard that one can get salvation or one can get liberated through just one-time darshan of Lord Jagannath. And so he was like, how is this possible? I mean, I see thousands of people taking darshan of Lord Jagannath every day. There is no way that all of them are getting salvation. So that's just not possible. So he's going through the Jagannath Puri, and so that morning the pujaris go to open the door of the temple, and the door will not open. And so the pujaris were like, well, what's going on? Maybe like, some latch is not right or something is going on. So they try to figure it out. But they're not able to open there's no latch, nothing, but they're not able to open the door. So then they tell the king sends some soldiers from the army to like push through the door and get the door to open, but the door would not open. So that whole day they couldn't they couldn't open the door. No one got to take darshan of Lord Jagannath. So that night, one of the pujaris had a dream, and in the dream, Lord Jagannath came in his dream and said, there is this person named Uddanacharya, and I would not. He's so sinful, or he's so offensive that I will not give darshan until he leaves the town. Unless he leaves Jagannath Puri, I will not give darshan. So the pujari goes ahead and tells that next day to the king, and the king tells basically his ministers to go ahead and find this person. It's like, okay, go ahead and find this person. So the ministers go around and it's like, hey, is there anyone, are you Uddanacharya, anyone in Uddanacharya? There's a personal message from Lord Jagannath for Uddanacharya. So when he finally finds out, like he hears it, oh, there's a personal message from Lord Jagannath. Oh, this is really special. He's like, yeah, it's me. So like, what's the message? Well, the message is you need to get out of here because the Lord said, he would not give darshan until you're out of here. And so they get him to leave the town, and then the next day the doors automatically open. So there are these statements that we will hear in the scriptures that we cannot probably comprehend, but just because we cannot comprehend doesn't mean that they're not true. So we need to have strong faith in the scriptures And it's like we hear that from story of Srila Prabhupada, right? Until then, right, there was the prophecy that this Senapati Bhakta, right, this special devotee will be able to spread Krishna's message throughout the world. And before that, there were people who would have doubts about it. Like, how is that possible? Like, who, all these like meat eating, like in the Western world, like no one wants anything to do with God. How would they ever actually really take up Krishna consciousness, right? And now here we are sitting after Srila Prabhupada's, seeing how it came true, right? So it's really easy to see it after it happens and believe in it, right? But when reading scriptures, um, it may seem like that's just so impossible. Like, how will that be possible, right? So if you put yourself, 100 or 150 years ago, and then reading the scriptures, and would you have had faith to be like, no, this is definitely going to happen, right? Like sitting in India, like there's no way in the world. Like, how is that possible? The British are ruling us, are ruling the entire world. This is not possible, right? So to really have that strong faith, there's another passing of this person. He's really he really has strong belief in the Vedas, and he goes ahead. His name is Lila Kumar Acharya, something like that. And he goes and he um, he goes ahead and he would debate with people who did not believe in the Vedas. So he would basically strongly debate and tell them, like, in the debates, defeat them on believing in the Vedas. So one day he was having such a debate to where he was like so strong, so hard that all the people got offended and they were coming to attack him. So he started running, and he was running away from there, and then he kind of came up like this higher place, like kind of like a cliff or whatever. So now he looks back and he's like, there's no way I'm surviving this. Like all of these people are just coming after me. So the only way is I'll have to jump. So right before he's jumping, he's like, if the Vedas are true, then nothing will happen to me. Like I'll survive through this. So he jumps. So he has some minor injuries, but he makes it, right? So he's alive, but he had some minor injuries. So he goes to his spiritual master, and he asks his spiritual master, it's like, why did I even get minor injuries? I said, the Vedas are true, like I'll be, I should be totally fine and wouldn't get hurt. And so spiritual master said, it's because you said if the Vedas are true. Because you had that, small doubt, that's why you had small injuries. Yeah. If you did not have that small doubt, you would have been, totally fine. You wouldn't even have incurred those minor injuries. So the point is to really have that faith in the holy name. And even if we may not have that realization right now, that Krishna's name are not different from Krishna, to chant with that strong faith. Okay. And then over the period of the time, the process works where we'll have that realization and we'll be able to chant with more realizations, and that faith will continue to get stronger. The second thing, the point I wanted to share was hearing attentively, right? So as kind of we were reading in the purport that listening is really important, right? So when we're listening to the chanting of the holy name and then listening attentively in the class, that's really important, because if you're not really reading from the scriptures or listening lectures on regularly and attentively, it can tend to become a chore, right? It can become to be this chore that I just do every day. Excuse me. without realizing the importance of it and without realizing how fortunate we are to have something so rare with us, having that opportunity. So hearing attentively and reading from the scriptures reminds us of how fortunate we are, and then we're able to develop that sincerity and humility through which we can really chant offenselessly. So it's really important to hear lectures, read scriptures, and do that do that attentively. To where I wanted to share this story to kind of drive that point on hearing attentively. So there's this one gentleman in India who's going to these Bhagavatam classes every morning, and he would listen to the Bhagavatam class, and after he listens to the class, he'll come home and he'll share whatever he heard with his family and with his kids. And so he has a parrot in the house, and then the parrot would listen to it every day too. So for these mornings, every day he's going, he's listening, and then he's repeating what he's hearing to his family and his kids, and the parrot is listening to it every day too. So one day the parrot speaks up. He says, I have a question for this speaker. Okay, so the person gets really excited. He's like, oh, I must be doing a really good job to talking to my family and telling them about these Bhagavatam, to where I even, encourage the parrot to get interested in this. So he says, all right, like, parrot, what's your question? So he said, my question is, if you can ask the speaker, how can I get out of this cage? So he said, okay, I'll go and I'll ask him. So then the next day he goes, he hears the whole class, and then he says, actually, I have a question that I wanted to ask that, my parent asked. So, all right, what is the question? He said, well, the parent wants to know, how can I get out of the cage? And so as soon as the speaker hears this question, he just like falls on the ground unconsciously. And so, the people around him like try to put some water on him and try to get him, and then finally, get him back conscious. And so, he's really confused of like, I didn't really get the answer to the question, so I don't know what I'm going to tell the parrot. So he goes back home and he's sharing what he heard, and then the parrot's like, well, did you get to ask my question? And he's like, well, I did ask. He's like, what was the answer? He's like, well, I asked, and then the speaker just fell unconsciously. So I'll go back again tomorrow and ask the question. Like, no, it's okay. I got my answer. Okay. So then the next day, he wake up and he's ready to go to listen to the class, and he looks in the cage, and the parrot died. And so now he's even more confused. He's like, well, yesterday, I asked the question, the speaker passed away, kind of got like unconscious, and now the parrot is dead. Like, what's going on? So he opened the cage to check on the parrot, and then the parrot flies away. So he's really upset, right? He's like, well, what's going on? Like, now my parrot is away. And so he goes to the speaker and he tells the speaker, like, what's going on? Like, is there some kind of conspiracy? Like, my parrot is away. And so he said, well, you've been coming and hearing every day, but you're a parrot and you could hear and intelligently to where you didn't understand what I was trying to tell you, but the parrot understood. So it's not important to just hear, but have that attentive hearing and hear intelligently, right? To where he heard or saw the same thing actually right in front of the speaker, but then parrot actually got the answer from it, right? So just coming in and being present in the morning talks is not or lectures or reading scriptures is not is good, but it's not enough if we're not doing it attentively and applying our intelligence. So we can always kind of meditate on that parrot's story to remind ourselves to do that. And the third thing that I wanted to talk about is that we can do is spreading Krishna consciousness or sharing Krishna consciousness with others. I can say from my personal experience, right? So when we first take up the process of Krishna consciousness, when we first start chanting, we go through this like stage of like anartha-nivritti, or the bliss that we're feeling right away, right? Like some of the bad habits we had, like they're kind of going away. We're feeling we're in this like really blissful state, right? In the beginning, we all can remember that, right? And it's really easy to chant. It's really blissful to chant, right? And that state stays for some time, but then we kind of hit like this, what feels like a plateau, or we're not seeing so much progress, and then it may seem hard to chant, right? Or it may some mornings may feel like a chore, or like things like that will happen, right? And so the beauty of sharing Krishna consciousness with others is that it keeps it fresh. When we are able to then see that same feeling or see that same joy and spark in this person that we're telling about Krishna, then we are able to relive it, and we are able to refeel it, and we are able to remind ourselves how rare it is and how fortunate we are to have something like this. Because again, it is really easy to forget that, but then by sharing it with others, it really easily helps us to remember that and keeps Krishna consciousness fresh. Um, there's this Prabhupada disciple, when Prabhupada initiated him, he gave him the name of Bhavananda. So Bhavananda Prabhu got initiated and got him Bhavananda. And so he asked him, do you know what your name means, what Bhavananda means? And so he said, Bhavananda, right? Bhav means like Krishna's bhava, Krishna's love, and being able to, Ananda means enjoy or bliss, like so be able to be blissful in Krishna's love. And so Prabhupada said, that's Bhavananda. I gave you the name Bhavananda. So what does Bhava means? So Bhava means material world. So one who is enjoying the material world. So then he gets really confused. He's like, I thought this is supposed to be a spiritual name. Why did I get the name Bhavananda? It's like enjoying in the material world. Srila Prabhupada said that only enjoyment in this material world is sharing Krishna consciousness. So if you want to get some enjoyment in this material world, you share this Krishna consciousness, you share this process with others. So that's something that we all can do in any way that feels natural to us, right? There is not one specific way. There are so many different ways. So whatever comes natural to us, whatever our talent is, we can share Krishna with others in that way, right? So we can all meditate on the qualities and wonderful gifts that Krishna has given us, and how we can then use that to share or tell Krishna to others and how we can share him. So those were the few thoughts I had. Happy to hear any thoughts or realizations or questions.
Thank you, Guru. Those stories were really nice to hear. And I just had a question. When we first were going through these instances, like the thought popped in my mind, like, where are these from? These kind of
It's a good question.
This is the part of Quran.
okay.
Thank you for the class. I think I came late, sorry, but it was really good. One question I always have is because I do regularly chanting, I visit a lot of temples in India when I was child and all those things. So getting the God in the dream and giving some suggestions on visiting the temple a lot does also convey that we are more with the God, or it's just my mind is working like that.
Sorry,
Like in the dreams, I get lot of gods, deities, seeing the god, the deities. Is that a good sign, or is it something I always see that I go visit the temples, I pray to the god, I see same thing, what I see live, I see same thing in my dreams also. Is that realization or constant thinking of God making this?
Okay. So some time ago, I had this dream where I was supposed to do, so my spiritual master was about to give a class, and he asked me and my godbrother to make copy of these pages and bring it to him for the class. He needed to to see it. And so I made a copy of the pages, and both my godbrother and I went to give those pages to him. And my pages, I ended up spilling some water by mistake. And the orders were not right. It was all shuffled up. To where I got really chastised by my spiritual master on not paying attention, on doing such a simple service such as making copy of the pages and bringing it to him. So after that dream, I was like, I was really shaken up. It was like, what am I supposed to get from this dream? And so, like, am I not doing my service nicely, or am I not doing it sincerely enough? Is my spiritual master upset at me? Like, what is? So I reached out to a senior devotee and asked him, like, what should I um, take out of this dream? So his response was, just like everything that we do is we take up whatever is favorable for our Krishna consciousness, and we discourage or don't take whatever is not favorable for our Krishna consciousness. So if that dream is not helping me in my Krishna consciousness to get closer to Krishna, I should think of it was a dream, right? But if there is something that I see from that dream that can bring me closer to Krishna, then I should take that part, and that's helping me to get closer to Krishna. So to answer your question, if seeing the deities, seeing those temples, and is bringing you closer to Krishna, is reminding you of Krishna, is helping you to go to the temple next morning, there's nothing wrong with it, right?
Yes.
So that's the that's the beauty. So if it's acting as like a favorable thing in your Krishna consciousness, then you should be grateful, and then take this that Krishna is sending you that. There are a lot of people, including myself, who would desire or have desire to have dreams like that, but we're not fortunate enough to to be able to meditate on Krishna enough to be able to have dreams like that. So it's wonderful that you're having dreams like that. And Krishna is helping you to be closer to him in that way.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it answers that. That's what I all, it makes my day really happy on the, when I see the dreams every day. In the morning, when I see that, okay, God is giving my dreams, that day becomes very good for me. So that's just a question I ask, is that okay, what I'm feeling is fine, that's what I, thank you.
So it's really good to have that desire. Prabhupada in one of the purports says, a devotee desires for Krishna's darshan, but does not demand Krishna's darshan. And so it's really good to have that desire. But if you don't have that dream, that's totally fine too.
Fine.
Right? So it's whatever is Krishna's desire, we're pleased with that. Right? If he comes in my dreams, that's totally fine too. And you're really grateful and wonderful in that way. And if Krishna decides not to come in your dream, that's totally fine too. Whatever we're trying to do is not to, as it was in the purport, right? A devotee is not trying to do something for self-satisfaction or our satisfaction. We're doing it to please Krishna, right? So whatever pleases Krishna is basically our goal.
Thank you very much. And thank you especially for that parrot example, parrot story. It's a balance because usually parrot gets that parrot-like reciting. But this time, he actually exhibited more than just that ability. Some intelligence is there too. My question is on eighth offense in the purports. It says that undoubtedly the holy name is a holy service, but he should never be utilized. There it is down here. One should not try to bring the holy name into the service of mankind. I was a little perplexed there because we're hearing teachings of Lord Chaitanya that it is the primary direction for humanity at large. How do we properly understand
Yeah. Krishna's mercy. I heard a lecture last night that really answered that question. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known the answer to it. So it's wonderful to see how Krishna reciprocates in these wonderful ways and gives you the intelligence. So His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj was sharing this pastime, where he was saying in 73 in Bombay, there was some conference that was held where this person was trying to get all the sadhus and the swamis to share the message of Bhagavad Gita, right? So they were all there. And so then to the point where everyone, they met together and then everyone asked like to Srila Prabhupada, like Swamiji, we think you should lead this group. And so Prabhupada said like, yes, I'm ready to lead, but are you ready to follow? And when that conference was happening, there was one person who was encouraging to chant the name of the Lord in the way that it will help people to in their material imperfections, right? So if someone was, let's say, born with some physical disability or with some physical challenges, that chant and that would help. And so later he reached out to Srila Prabhupada and asked and told Prabhupada that actually we should combine or we should meet, and you and I are basically sharing the same message of chanting of the holy name, so we can reach kind of the broader audience like that. And Srila Prabhupada said, actually, no, you're doing one of the offenses that we talk about in chanting. So I think the point here is to not think of it that the chanting will relieve your material pain, if you may. The chanting may give you the realization, or that's the mood that we're chanting with, that we may realize that that pain in the beginning, we may realize, just have the realization that it's temporary. Or in later, we actually may even realize that how actually that pain can help us get closer to Krishna. But in that mood, where basically, again, our mood is just to chant to please Krishna, right? And it's not, so again, we can see in some faiths or sometimes it's like chant the name of the Lord to get relief from that material discomfort, whatever that may be. But that's not our mood. That's actually committing offense because we're thinking that the holy name, the chanting of the holy name is just to relieve from the material thing, right? It's so much more powerful and so much higher than that. Now, to your point of Lord Chaitanya, spreading it freely is actually sharing it that you should have that, the highest benediction to get from the holy name is to, get that love for Krishna. And that's our only desire, right? It's not to get, any material benefits or, relief from any material discomfort. And we're not chanting with that move. Does that help with that?
Yeah, yeah. So in a way, if you have a Ferrari, don't just take it to Publix across the street. You take it on the highway.
Right. Take full advantage of what you have, right? So if like, don't be like a kid, if he has a billionaire father and all he asks is like, that $10 toy because he doesn't know. He's like, oh, I just need that toy. But he doesn't realize that, the amount of money that his father has and that money can get him so much more, right? But his intelligence is just limited to toys that he would just ask for that toy and wouldn't realize how much, more he can do with that money if he would have asked for that.
Hence, Mahaprabhu describes it as a prime benediction.
Right. Right. Paramujate, Shri Krishna Sankirtana. Anything else?
Thank you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. I really like the point about when you share Krishna consciousness, it becomes like fresh, it's like a new experience. It's kind of like when you're showing someone like a movie, like a friend a movie,
Yeah.
and then it's like you're reliving it, like by showing. Thank you for that point. I had a question. For me, I find it hard to like see the holy name as like a person. But I noticed in the what is it, the descriptions of the offenses, it says it's an offense at the lotus feet of the holy name. And so it's like, personifying, the holy name because it's a person. But anyways, I struggle with seeing it. Any tips that help you like see the holy name as more of a person?
I'll be honest, I don't see it either. So I would actually ask others for any, who's able to have that realization. That's something that I personally struggle with too. I was in a lecture a few months ago that Ram Govinda Guru was giving at the temple, and he was talking about like, different age has these. So he was on Wednesdays. The class is kind of more geared towards the school students. So he was giving the talk and he was talking about these avatars and how, the avatars are so cool and, every age has this avatar, so I'm thinking about it, like, who's he going to mention about like avatars? Is Shiva Prabhupada? Like, is he talking about Chaitanya? And he's like, in this age, I'm talking about the Nama avatar and how you can access the holy name. So, just like right there by chanting it, the Nama avatar is actually a person. And so my mind didn't even go there that, Nam, the holy name is actually, an avatar. I can't even think of it as that way. So that's something that I personally don't have that I personally struggle with too. So I cannot answer that question. But if there's anyone who has some thoughts, please. Yes, please.
I just thought about maybe it's because of the influence of the eye that's close by. Thought about the sound being a wave, but also simultaneously, scientifically we understand it's a particle. So we can think of it as a particle personality or supreme particle personality of Godhead in that form of a sound. Because it has both natures. The sound waves are also particles.
Right.
So in that way, we can not imagine, but we can accept the fact that there's a personality in sound as well. And I think just yesterday, Natana, you mentioned about that very famous group from South Korea. So maybe you can share that experience, how they manifest in their name as well.
Oh. Yesterday we were having a Bhagavad Gita discussion, facilitated by the Christopher group, and yeah, we were saying like how you know, the different types of like rasas you can have with Krishna, and you know, like and they start out just like, you know, like a fan start chanting, you know, Krishna's name, and then it reminded me, I more when I was younger, a couple of years ago, I would have been to this Korean pop group called BTS, like, you know, they're the biggest boy band in the world, and the fans, I found it interesting, their fans chant their names in like a sequence, like a cheer, you know, in different meters. So I'm like, that's kind of like kirtan, like,
Yeah.
it was interesting.
It's associated.
All those names are associated with personality.
Yeah.
And it brings a very strong connection when you know who that personality is.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless there's something quick.
We can talk more.
It was super deep.
A life-changing experience you were gonna share.
So, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.